Hello, BookTube. Hello, friends. Welcome to Lizziefaye Loves Books. I'm Elizabeth, and it is time to share with you what I read in the month of March. I had a fantastic reading month, but before I get into all of that, I want to just say thank you. Thank you to all the hosts and all the participants of March Mystery Madness. It was a fantastic year. It was our 10th year, and in a couple more months, I will celebrate my 10 years on BookTube. I know it's like, wait, wouldn't... It seems like that's backwards, but it's because I started March Mystery Madness before I had been on BookTube even a whole year. So that's how come the numbers are lined up like that. Anyway, I'm still knee-deep in readathon season. We have Amish in April coming up in April, and you hopefully have already seen a little video project that I'm involved in that is happening hopefully right now. Hopefully this video will go up during Gladys Tabor week and not a week later. But anyway, we are just trying to spread the love of Gladys Tabor. And if you have not seen any of those videos, please watch at least one. If you like cozy books at all, if you are, say, a Miss Reed fan or a Miss Julia fan, even though she's more modern, Mitford, if you like cozy type things, I almost guarantee you will love Gladys Tabor. They are hard to find. So this is not a readathon. This is just a series of videos, a playlist, if you will, of videos to introduce you to Gladys Tabor or to spread the love. So that's a whole separate week of videos. Just check those out if you haven't. And in this video, I want to share with you what I read in the month of March. So I kind of did a little wrap up here, summary. The majority of what I read, of course, were mysteries. And let me just say right now, I apologize about my glasses. I'm going to try when I have them on to look down so that they're not glaring. When I look up like this, I've got light coming in the window and it glares, and I know it's distracting, and I'm so sorry. Anyway, I will try to take them off when I'm not reading. Anyway, I went ahead and kind of broke down my mysteries into subcategories. I read almost a whole series of romantic suspense, which to me still counts as a mystery. I read 7 of those. 6 of them were from one series, and I still have 1 more in that series I need to read with my eyes. And I read 6 what I would consider historical mysteries. Now, they were all definitely historical. A couple of them might more fall under just the historical fiction categories, but there were mysteries in all of them. And so I'm going to lump them into that category. Then I had 6 cozy mysteries, and then I had 2 other crime novels, which were both Reacher books. So they don't really fall into any of those other categories. Now, I didn't do great with middle grade March. I had 6 children's books. A couple of them were middle grade. A couple of them were for younger children. I did not get to the middle grade mystery that I wanted to read. I did do 1 middle grade mystery, but there was one that I would have had to read with my eyes. It was the Theodore Boone book, and I didn't get to it. I had 1 Christian fiction book, and that was for a read-along, which I'll tell you about. I had 1 Christian nonfiction book, and then 1 other nonfiction book. And of the children's books, one of those was nonfiction. It was a Christian children's nonfiction book. And then I had 1 YA dystopian book, and that was probably my favorite book of the month. Then within those numbers, I had 3 of the books that I read were for my book club, my local book club at my local library. And then 2 of the books that were historical were also books on my 60 by 60 challenge list. So I said in my April TBR that I want to really try and finish that this month. And I think I can get down to like 1 left in April. So that's pretty close. Then I also participated, I'm still participating in the Strawberry Book Readers Aim for the Target Challenge. Ashli is the Strawberry Book Reader, and she started a challenge called Aim for the Target, and it's a 3-month-long challenge, and she's got 20 prompts for each month, and you are to pick 5 of those, and then at the end of the month, you find out how many points each of those were worth. So I forgot to kind of sit down and see what all books I had that were going to fit until the end of the month, but I did not look to see what points they were worth before I did it, and I wrote it down before I checked, and I ended up getting, I think, 19 points. Yeah, and I had, I think, and I think that's higher than the points I got last month. Anyway, it's a fun challenge. You can still jump in and participate. There's 1 more month, and it's kind of based on archery, and it's pretty cool. So let me show you all the books I read, and then at the end, if I remember, hopefully I'll remember, at the end I will show you which books and which prompts that I counted for the Aim for the Target challenge. All right, so let's start with the mysteries, because March Mystery Madness was my big thing for the month, and a lot of you are coming here for that. Let me go ahead first, because I think it'll be quicker to talk about the romantic suspense first. I partly did these because of Sarah's category romance book club, and she didn't pick a specific author for March, but we kind of, we chatted about it, and I was like, well, I'll just do a romantic suspense, and I've got some canine romances all ready to go, and I think I may have already shown you these in my mid-month wrap-up, so I'll do this real quick. One of the ones was not from that series, and it's Rocky Mountain Revenge. This was really good because this was about a woman who is a vet, and she came home to help out in her family's vet clinic, only to find that her brother-in-law was kind of doing some things he shouldn't do, and he's getting divorced from her sister who worked in the office, and I think her sister's missing. I don't know. So there was a lot of intrigue going on here, and I thought it was very good. So then the series that I listened to was the True Blue Canine Unit series. These were all set in New York. These are about a team of canine policemen from Queens. There is another series that's called True Blue Canine Unit Brooklyn. So if those are on audio, I'll try to get to those next. But they are written by multiple authors, and they were very good. Justice Mission by Lynette Eason is the first one. This was originally published in April of 2019. So then in May of 2019, we had Act of Valor by Dana Mentink. And then in June of 2019, Blind Trust by Laura Scott. Then in July, we had Deep Undercover by Lenora Worth. And in August, we had Seeking the Truth by Terry Reid. In September, Trail of Danger by Valerie Hansen. And the neat thing about these series is that each of the dogs have different specialties, and so they come into play for different reasons within the team. And I just think it's fascinating. And then we have Courage Under Fire by Sharon Dunn. It's from October of 2019. And then November 2019, we have Sworn to Protect by Shirley McCoy. Then in December of 2019, there was one final book in the series. For December, they usually do a bind up of 2 shorter Christmas-themed books with other members of the team who maybe just have shorter stories, not as much to tell. And the overarching mystery that is in play throughout the series is usually wrapped up in the November book. Then December, we just kind of get an epilogue in 2 shorter novellas that are bound up together with a Christmas theme. It just kind of puts a nice bow on the whole series. But for some reason, they don't put those Christmas books on audio. I don't know why. None of the series that I've listened to on audio have the Christmas book on audio. I have had to read it in print. I don't mind reading it in print. I'm just saying, it's just interesting. It's strange. So I did not get to it. I'll probably maybe try to pick it up like in July, if there's a Christmas in July prompt that somebody has. I don't know. I want to definitely read that Christmas book in within this year, though. So let's do the Cozy Mysteries next. Before I forget, the one I don't have in physical form, I'm liable to forget it. It is one of the Campers and Criminals series. I forget what number. I'll try to put it here. I did not have it marked on Goodreads. I didn't think I'd read it, so I checked it out on Hoopla, and I remembered it. I thought, well, maybe this is one of those that I got started on and it expired. But no, I remembered it all the way to the end. But I went ahead and listened to it all the way to the end because I didn't have it marked on my Goodreads. So it's marked now. I've listened to it twice now, and it was good. I enjoyed it. So I'm ready to move on to the next one. I believe most of the series that I still need to listen to are in box sets of 3. So I will try in April to get to one more set of 3, and I maybe will just try to do at least 3 every month until I get to number 30, which is the Z book, and that's what I need to finish my ABC challenge that I started years ago. So that will be great. Then for the read along I'm doing with the Killing Time with Cozies group, we were on book 2 of the Emergency Dessert Squad series by Laura Bradford. This is The Silence of the Flans, or Flans, however you say it. So this I enjoyed. Then at the last minute, I kind of got a head start with Amish in April, even though I'm going to save most of my Amish books until the actual dates of Amish in April. I went ahead and listened to Gingerbread Danger by Amanda Flower. This is the most recent of the Amish Candy Shop mysteries. This was very good. I enjoyed it a lot. There were a couple of times, though, that I was thinking, okay, our main character is Bailey. She lets her parental figures steamroll over her, and I think finally near the end she did start to speak up for herself, but her soon-to-be mother-in-law is just always thrusting her pet pig on her and asking her to watch him. Now, she justifies it by saying she enjoys doing it, but honestly, there are times when she needs to not have that pig. She has stuff she's doing, and she doesn't have time to go chasing a pig everywhere. You know, and her mother-in-law, soon-to-be mother-in-law, is oblivious. So, then in this book, Bailey's parents actually come to town, and they are just trying to steamroll their wants and needs for her wedding, mainly her mother. And I'm just like, come on, stand up for what you want. Other than that little frustration, it was good. I enjoyed it. I have really, really loved the whole series. I listened to 2 books in the Irish Village mystery series. These are not as cozy anymore, and also our sleuth, who started out to be an amateur sleuth, is now a professional detective, or professional Garda, as they say in Ireland. So I don't know that these would necessarily fall into the cozy mystery category, but I'm still counting them. I'm still lumping them into that. These were good, though. Murder at an Irish Bakery, I enjoyed. And then Murder at an Irish Chipper was also good. I had to look up what a chipper was. I'm thinking, is that a wood chipper? What is that? It's actually an eating place. It's a place that serves like fish and chips. And I didn't know that. I thought maybe it had something to do with chips, as in fish and chips. And really, I didn't even know for sure what kind of chips people are referring to when they say fish and chips. I thought it was maybe French fries, but I think it's more of like potato wedges. I could be wrong. I know it's not our standard American potato chips like we call chips. But anyway, a chipper in Ireland is an eating establishment, kind of like fast food, and they probably specialize in fish and chips. Now I know something. There's one more book in this series that just came out. As of the time I was listening to these, it was not available on audio yet. If it comes available by the end of the year, I will go ahead and listen to that so that I am caught up with the series. And then the book I read for March Mystery Madness as my ode to Scott Bryant's memory is Dim Sum of All Fears by Vivian Chen. I love this. This was probably my favorite mystery of the month. I thought this was great. I have heard such wonderful things about the Noodle Shop Mysteries. I had only read the first one. In fact, the reason I read this in Scott's memory is because I had read book 1 in a read-along with the Bookish Bryants a few years back, and had just not ever gotten around to reading the second one. So this was one of my big print books for the month. I really had 2 mysteries that I chinked away at all month. Now, I probably could have and would have read this one faster if it hadn't been for the other mystery that I was reading in print. And I'm not counting it as cozy. I'm counting this one as one of my historical mysteries because it's kind of got a dual timeline, and one of the timelines is World War II. This I read in Janelle's memory because Janelle from Too Fond of Books was another March Mystery Madness host that we lost a couple of years ago, and I had intended to read this last year. But sadly, I did not enjoy this book, and I set out to read 2 chapters in this a day and 1 chapter in this, and that would have been perfect. They would have lasted exactly for the month, and all would be well. But I missed this a couple of times, and for most of the month, I was behind, and I just struggled with making myself pick it up. I did not enjoy it. I got really uncomfortable in places. There was times when they were visiting mediums, and then the play that was being done within the book was based on Greek mythology, but there was a lot of demons and a devil and things like that, and it just made me uncomfortable, and I just didn't enjoy it. But I did finish it. I noticed another one of the books from this series came through our bookstore where I work, and I wasn't he was just laying on the counter, and I was like, that's a series I don't think I'm going to read anymore of. And I was telling my coworker, I was like, yeah, I just read the first one of those and I didn't love it. So I don't think I'm going to read anymore in that series. But I am glad that I got this read. We did have a copy of this in our store, and it looks like it has been sold. So I am probably going to trade this in at our bookstore and get something that I do want. I mentioned that I read a couple of Reacher books. I listened to them on audio. I think this is 21 and 22, Make Me, and Night School. Night School so far has been my least favorite. I would actually admit that I almost DNF'd it. There was a scene in it that was very graphic that had to do with bestiality, and I almost stopped right there. It was bad. Now Reacher himself, the character of Reacher was not in that scene. He did not witness that. And I think it was the author's way of just kind of showing what people he was going to be dealing with. But oh my goodness, I don't want to read about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be rating this one very highly. All right, so I have 5 books that are historical. 3 of them I read for my local library book club. I may have already talked about this one, Cleat by James Lee Burke. This is farther down in the Dave Robichaux series, but it's the first book that is from Cleat's perspective. And I think I mentioned it already in my mid-month wrap-up for March, and I said then that I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I had only read one other Dave Robichaux book before, and I had tried to read the first one, and I DNF'd it. It's just gritty. It's not my thing. And it's interesting now that I've read something in Reacher that I think is also part of the, from the seamier part of life. And Sarah had even said, she's like, well, you like Reacher, isn't that kind of the same type of genre? And it just, up to this point, it didn't feel like it was, but now it kind of feels like it is. I don't know. Hopefully we won't have any more of that in a Reacher book. Then I have 2 other historical mysteries that I read for book club. I gave this 5 stars, The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. I thought it was great. Just very tragic. I did a read-along of this one. I had several people join in. This was fantastic. Didn't turn out to be such a big mystery, but there were things revealed. There was a crime committed. There were things revealed, and it was just sad. Oh, my goodness. It was just very sad. This one was actually more of a historical mystery than this one. I had several people say in the comments that they had read this before and really liked it. This is The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon, and this was great. Oh my goodness. This is definitely a 5-star read. And then the last 2 historical mysteries were on my 60 by 60 list. And these would be really more lumped into just historical fiction, but they both did have a mystery element. So I figured, why not count them for March Mystery Madness? I thought this was fantastic. When We Meet Again by Kristen Harmel. Oh my goodness, this was great. I love this. This was, I think, my 2nd book by Kristen Harmel. This one was a little more of a drudge. The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. It took me the longest time to figure out, and even figure out where there was a clockmaker involved in any of this, and he was really not very big part of the story at all. I did get through it. I listened to it on audio on CD. I wish that I could have had it on digital audio so I could have sped it up, but sadly I didn't. It's definitely not my favorite Kate Morton. Still, The Forgotten Garden remains to be my favorite Kate Morton, and I have not found another book by her that measures up. I think I've read 4 others now, and I've got just 1 or 2 more to read. And honestly, unless I can get them on digital audio, I probably won't read them because I need to be able to speed it up. I just get, it's so slow and drawn out, and I just lose focus and lose interest when she's going through all the details. But anyway, if you've never read Kate Morton, definitely try The Forgotten Garden. It's fantastic. I did not listen to it on audio, though. I read it in print, and maybe that's what I needed for this. I did have a hard time following the characters, but I just didn't have the patience. But I tried reading The Homecoming in print, and I just didn't have the patience for it. I needed it on audio to at least get me started, and I couldn't get it. So this is earlier last year. We were supposed to read that for book club, and I just didn't get it read, The Homecoming. Anyway, long story. I read this. I listened to it. It was on my 60 by 60 list. It's kind of heavy, kind of chunky, and now I'm done with it. Yay. When I'm getting ready to do my wrap up, I sit down with my Goodreads and I make a list of genres and I just do little tick marks to count up my genres. Well, I have 6 tick marks for children and middle grade, and I've got 7 books here. So I don't know where I messed up. But anyway, I did have one middle grade mystery, City Spies book 4. This is City of the Dead by James Ponti. Very good. I very much enjoyed it. I definitely want to catch up with the City Spies series because most of James Ponti's series are trilogies. After I read the first 3 City Spies, I didn't even remember to go back to it because I just figured it was done. And it's not done. There's at least 6 now. So I need to definitely get some more of these read. Very enjoyable series. It's kind of a found family series, and I love the characters. So definitely check it out. I had one children's nonfiction, and maybe this is what I counted for other nonfiction. I don't know, but anyway, I read this because I wanted to find out if I could recommend this to people with kids. This is The Prayer for Jabez for Kids by Bruce Wilkinson. It is adapted for kids by Melody Carlson, who is an author I enjoy, and this was good. I really did enjoy it. I love the Prayer of Jabez and all the books surrounding it and the Bible studies and things like that. I pray a version of the Prayer of Jabez just about every day, and I love the study of it. So I did very much enjoy this. And then the only Star Wars book that I read in March was a junior Star Wars book. This is book 5 in the Jedi Academy called The Force Oversleeps. It is by Jarrett Krozokska, I believe. I looked up a video even to see how he pronounced his name, and it just rolled right off his tongue like it was the easiest name in the world. And I watched one of his TED Talks, and it was very good. So anyway, yeah, he picked up the series after the original author did the first trilogy, and then Jarrett here picked up with book 4. This is book 5. There's a lot more in the series. I will definitely finish the series. It's very enjoyable. This just little tiny children's book I read because I was getting some kids' books together for my friend Beth from Soul Stained Ink and her kids, some books that I had gotten at our liquidation store. And I saw this one. It says it's a Native American tale called Rabbit's New Fur. And since I'm still getting her box together, I haven't mailed anything yet. I do plan to include this, Beth, if you're watching this. But I wanted to read it first. This is just a cute little folklore story about basically how otters became swimmers, and I thought it was really cute. And then I read 2 Spiderwick books. This one ran across somewhere, and it is the first 3 chapters of The Seeing Stone, which is book 2 in the Spiderwick series, and then it has 1 lost chapter. So this little book is called Goblins Attack, and I did read this plus the lost chapter. I did not go on and reread the whole Seeing Stone book. I've got it here just so you can kind of see the difference. You know, this book is so small, you wouldn't think that they'd need to publish a portion of it, but, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, since this said it had a lost chapter, an extra chapter, I thought, well, it would be fun to go ahead and read it. And while I was on that kick, I thought, well, why don't I read the last companion book that I haven't read yet? Finally, on the last couple of days of the month, I had gotten this from the library, and I sat down and I read it. This is Arthur Spiderwick's Field Guide to the Fantastical World Around You. So this is meant to be like the book that Arthur Spiderwick put together after studying fairies and the fae for years. And he put all of his knowledge into one book, and then the authors of Spiderwick took his book that was given to them by the children from the Spiderwick Chronicles and, reworked it and restored it. And this is the final result of that. So anyway, it was cute. I think that they tried to make the lore of various fairies kind of match up with other fairy lore in other literature, and I thought it was very interestingly done. This was probably my favorite book of the month. I listened to it on audio, and my daughter Katie was the one who reminded me that it was coming out last month, and I quickly got on Hoopla, and it was there, and I immediately checked it out. I was like, yay, oh my goodness. I checked it out on her account, her Hoopla, so that she could listen to it too, but she's like, no, I really want to wait for the book. So the book is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. It is the new prequel to the Hunger Games, and I loved it. It's heartbreaking, oh my goodness, but I loved it. It was a 5-star book, and it broke me, but oh wow, it's great. I did not go back and reread Hunger Games yet, but I noticed that Katie did. She wanted to kind of go back and reread everything before this. If you don't remember much about the original Hunger Games trilogy, it wouldn't hurt. But you don't need to read the other prequel, the one that's about President Snow, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. You don't need to read it before you read this one. This one is Haymitch's story. Now, there's going to be times when he's dealing with President Snow, and if you've read this one, then you kind of get why President Snow says some of the things he says and does some of the things he does. But it's not absolutely necessary to the story. You just need to have read The Hunger Games and Catching Fire. You really don't even have to have read Mockingjay, but there are characters from Catching Fire in Sunrise on the Reaping. And a little fun fact, as I was listening to it, I was like, oh, I was trying to remember what these characters look like in the movie, like who played them in the movie. So I started looking at a cast list. Do you guys realize that Alan Ritchson, who plays Reacher, was in Catching Fire? He played Gloss, one of the careers in Catching Fire. I was like, what? No way. But he's perfect for it. So we even went back. We have all the movies on DVD, and I pulled out Hunger Games, and we watched that one night, and then the next night I pulled out Catching Fire, and my husband was trying to go to sleep, and I had the movie in, and I was like waking. I was like, look, who's that? Do you recognize him? You recognize him? And at first he didn't because he was half asleep, and then finally he's like, is it Reacher? It's like, yes. Now go to sleep. But yeah, that was awesome. So a favorite book of the month, even though it wasn't a mystery, it was unexpected. It was, spur of the moment, and I loved it. And we're almost done. I had a couple of Christian books, one fiction, one nonfiction, and then one other nonfiction book that was just kind of spur of the moment. I was so happy to get my hands on a copy of book 8 of Les Feldick's Through the Bible. I ordered a batch from eBay and started reading this like the next day. I didn't wait till the end of February. I started reading it in February, finished it up about mid-March, and then now I've started reading book 9. In fact, I'm close to finishing book 9 now. I can usually read one of these every 3 weeks. That's kind of the comfortable pace that I've set for these. Anyway, really, really enjoyed it. Then I had a Christian fiction book, and I'm reading the Yada Yada Prayer Group with Ashli, the Strawberry Book Reader, and we read the first book in March, and then now I'm going to be reading book 2 with her. It's a 7-book series. I didn't really know what to expect from this. It's a book about some women who meet at a women's Christian conference, and whatever denomination it is a little more charismatic than the way I worship, but that's totally fine. It's very interesting. They become just a wonderful friend group and support group for each other. They are not perfect women. They all have backgrounds and flaws, and even the one who is kind of the narrator of the story, she's the one that's had the least controversial background, and she realizes that she is dealing with a lot of pride in her heart because she hasn't dealt with a lot of the things that some of the other women have dealt with. So it really just looks at all sides of it, and I thought it was really, really good. I'm looking forward to reading more of it. They are on audio on Hoopla, and they used to not be, but I'm glad that they are now. And then one other book, I don't have a physical copy of this one. I do have several books by this author, but I don't have this one. I'm going to put it here. It's by Sandra Felton. She is, her handle is The Organizer Lady, and this is one that I had read before. It's on audio on Hoopla. I like the method that is set forth in here, and I was trying to kind of explain it to my husband, and finally I was just like, it was the end of the month, and I still had a couple of Hoopla borrows left, and I thought, I'm just going to borrow this and listen to it again and get some inspiration for decluttering, because now it's April. I am ready for spring cleaning here. Ready to get back to decluttering, and I didn't end up traveling this year. The last 2 years, actually the last 3 years, I have traveled to my family reunion, and 2 of those years on to Dayton, Ohio for Katie's Color Guard competition. She's actually there right now as I'm filming this, and I kind of miss going, but at the same time, it sets me back for everything else, and we didn't really have the budget accounted for it for this to go this year, so it was better not to go this year. Anyway, I'm ready. All that to say, I'm ready for spring cleaning now, and I listened to this book, and then early in April, I also checked out another one by her that I had not read, and it's something about 10 time management tips. So I'm listening to that one right now. Anyway, but that one is very good. So I want to jump in here just for a second, because I realized that while some of you who participated in March Mystery Madness did a fabulous job of working with the prompts and the paths, the 3 paths, and I just admire you so much for how you did that. One of the paths was to read books that were from various decades, like published in those decades, and I think quite a few people did that. There was another path to focus on a particular decade. I haven't been able to watch nearly as many wrap-ups as I want to, and I plan to, but one in particular comes to mind. Linda, the book lady, she did a focus on the 1950s, and Tim, Thrifty Tim, who was one of our March Mystery Madness hosts, he read a book starting with the decade he was born in, and was reading one book published in each decade of his life. So I just think that's amazing. Now, I kind of loosely chose path 3, which was to read books that have been published in the last 10 years that are set in different decades. And I didn't really search for particular decades. I just basically read what I wanted to read and what I needed to read. And I want to just come back, though, in the interest of, fitting things into the prompts, and share with you what was set in each of the various decades that I read from. And it is quite a nice variety. So the newest book that I read, I listened to on audio, is Gingerbread Danger by Amanda Flower. This is contemporary, and it was just published, I guess, this year or last year. And so that is the 2020s. And then Dim Sum of All Fears was published in 2018, and it was contemporary for its time. So that's the 20 teens. I don't have anything from the early 2000s, but both Cleat and this Reacher book, Night School, which had some problems, but both of them were stories set in the 1990s. Another interesting thing about these, though, is that both of these series are set in contemporary time. Like, they are set in the time that they were published. But both of these are stories that go back in time. They're sort of prequel stories for these characters, and both were set in the 1990s. This Reacher book was specifically set, I think, in 1996. And then Cleat, I think he says, this is a story from back in the 90s, when we were doing such and such. So both of those were 90s. Then heading on back, we have The Berry Pickers. Now, this was a dual timeline book, but one of the timelines was set in the 1960s. And then When We Meet Again by Kristen Harmel had also a dual timeline, but one of the timelines was set in the 1940s. Now, I also did read another historical mystery that was set in the 40s, but this one was published earlier than the past 10 years. So it doesn't technically fit the criteria, but, we're not being legalistic here. I'm just saying it doesn't technically fit the criteria. Clockmaker's Daughter also had a dual timeline, and the earlier timeline was set in the 1860s. So that was quite a ways back. And then even farther back, The Frozen River by Ariel Lawhon was set in the winter of 1789 and 1790. So it actually kind of dipped into two different decades. And it was fantastic. It was probably my favorite of these 8 books. Then up here, I want to just mention a couple of other readathons that I failed to mention in the earlier part of the video. The 2 Irish books, I did mention them, but I failed to mention the Irish readathon. And I don't know if Carleen O'Connor is Irish or anything like that, but these are both set in Ireland, so I'm going to count these as my ode to the Irish readathon. And then I failed to mention March of the Mammoths. I did start A Column of Fire by Ken Follett, and I did not get very far yet, but I will pick it back up probably in June. I've got Gladys Tabor Week going on right now, and then at the end of the month, we've got Amish in April, and then in May, I'm going to be doing Middle Grade May. So I will pick it back up in June, and probably will check out the CDs from the library and see how the audio goes for this. But I've had this library copy checked out, and I was so excited, though, that this morning when I was searching for some other books, I went to the garage and I unpacked a box of books that I had packed up for the Christmas holidays, and I found my own copy of A Column of Fire. I thought that I had my own copy, but then I couldn't find it on the shelves or anything, and I didn't realize that I had packed it away. So yay, I can return this library copy, and I'll have my own copy whenever I get ready to pick it back up. Also, I just want to quickly apologize in advance. There is a small portion of the video coming up that is very choppily edited, and I apologize for that. I kind of messed up with what I was saying, and I had to cut out some stuff, and then in order to actually get the correct information in there, I just had to kind of piece together some bits that I had filmed. So anyway, sorry about that. The quality of my videos is certainly not professional by any means. I just do the best I can with the resources I have, and I appreciate you guys watching in spite of that. So that's it. I think that is 33 books for the month of March. I had 24 that were on audio and 9 that were in print. And of course, a couple of the print books were shorter children's books, but even one of the children's books was pretty long. That big field guide was pretty long. So the last thing I said I would do is tell you which of these 5 books I counted for which of Ashli's prompts for the Aim for the Target reading challenge. So I had to put my glasses back on. One of her prompts was a book I bought used, so I counted Full Dark House for that. It's by Christopher Fowler. And one of the prompts was to have a form of transportation on the cover, and I'm counting the Campers and Criminals book that I read. There's usually a camper of some type on each cover, and this one had an actual motorhome. And then I'm counting the number 14 prompt was brown on the cover. This one's kind of a stretch because brown is kind of subjective, but this one definitely has some brown. Even though a lot of the cover is kind of pinkish, there's some brown here on Silence of the Flans, or Flans. I never know how to say that. So I'm counting that. Prompt 15 was to read a book that contains magic, and I could count either of these Spiderwick books, so I'll count Arthur Spiderwick's Field Guide. And the last prompt that I counted was prompt 18, to read your most recent purchase. Now I'm counting Sunrise on the Reaping. I don't know if it counts that I actually listened to it before I bought it, but it's pretty rare that I buy a book brand new, and it's pretty rare that I read it within the same month. So I think that counts. I guess that's about it for this video. I still do have a book haul coming. I've been slowly but surely trying to put that together. And I hope that you have been watching the Gladys Tabor Week videos. I hope you will leave a comment in this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if any of them sound interesting to you. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Read a good book, and God bless you.